I'm looking at it now, and
Keep the boat running. If they try to stop us, we'll go around to the other side of the island.
In the news tonight, militant Pacific Islanders have occupied a top-secret U.S. missile and Star Wars test site in the Marshall Islands. Pentagon officials reported yesterday. The protest at the U.S. Army Kwajalein missile range began when the U.S. lease on the facility expired and the Marshallese landowners refused to sign a new lease.
Good morning, Mr. Mewell.
yes.
Kwajalein protest is being led by 72-year-old Handel Drebo, a Marshall Islands traditional chieftain who owns much of the land on which the missile base sits. Mr. Drebo told reporters that the occupation will not end until a new lease is negotiated or the U.S. Army moves its missile testing elsewhere. The U.S. had been paying about $9 million a year in rent for the facility, but according to local landowners, that is not enough compensation for the living conditions they say have been forced upon them by the Army.
We are standing on one of my land tracts on Kwajalein Island. This is the officers' club at the missile base. And all the people you see here have returned after the U.S. lease agreement ended. We've come back to live on our lands. Since there hasn't been any new lease signed with the United States, we've decided to reoccupy our land. And when we arrived here, we found this sign that the Americans had put up. Just look at what they have written here. No Marshallese are allowed on these premises. Anybody caught will face imprisonment and will be ruined. So this is what they've written. But despite these threatening words, all these people, including myself, have come back to live on our land. Because after all, what's there to do when there hasn't been any new lease agreement but to come back to our land? And all these buildings have been built on my land. And as far as I'm concerned, these buildings are mine too.
This dispute arises from the fact that the American government, particularly in the Defense Department, has not yet come to grips with the meaning and the implications of the fact that all of their use rights at Kwajalein expired on September 30 of last year. And Mr. Drebo has a right to move in with them. They can't evict him because he has the lawful right to be there.
We see no reason to have to pay any more at this time. Also, you can understand the pressures in general in Washington now. The general budgetary climate there make it very difficult for anybody to come up with any more money for programs or rent like this.
All you have to do is look at Ebi. 10 minutes of looking at Ebi can see that it's been dealt with badly. It absolutely demonstrates that. And it's unnecessary. But it's also bureaucratically the kind of thing that's extremely difficult to resolve because there is no compelling interest from a national security standpoint in changing the status quo. The U.S. national security is not threatened by the slum on Ebi. The Marshallese people who live there are threatened by that, but U.S. national security is not.
Most of the people on this island who work have jobs at the American missile base on Kwajalein Island. There are close to 600 workers who commute to Kwajalein by boat every day because the missile base offers some of the only jobs around. And the wages are much better than picking coconuts. That's one reason why Ebi is so crowded with people from all over the Marshall Islands.
A lot of kids around, okay? They don't have education. We need education. A lot of kids graduate from high school, they're unemployed. Just like me, I went to school in the United States. You know why? I went to school for 8 years. I come over here, I get a job. Policeman, United States, government, military, whatever it is. I'm working for them. The problem is, you get a lot of poor people around here. The products around here is expensive. The people around here, they're paying $1.50, $1.50.
Per hour?
Per hour, yeah.
Before the Americans came, we still lived off the land and our own natural resources. Money was not important then. These days, we worry so much if there's no money. The first person to be buried here was a grandchild of mine. My oldest son also lies here, who committed suicide for reasons I couldn't understand. But there have been a lot of youth suicides on Ebi, usually as a result of alcohol. Alcohol has become one of the biggest problems in our community since the Americans first arrived. But with a place like Ebi, there isn't a lot to do, and our young people usually turn to alcohol for entertainment.